Hello dear students, welcome back to my class. Today I am here with a second chapter of biology, reproduction in flowering plants. In previous chapter we have discussed about the types of reproduction, about the gamete formation. In this chapter we have to study about the flowering plants. We have studied about the plant kingdom, that there are variety of the plants found in the plant kingdom, but flowering plants are the most recent parts of the plant kingdom. We are very lucky that plants reproduce sexually. The myriads of flowers that we enjoy grazing at, the scents and the perfumes that we soon wear, the rich colors that attracts us, are all there as an aid to sexual reproduction. Here you can see the pictures of amazing flowers. Can you find anyone who dislikes the flower? I don't think there would be anyone who doesn't like the flower. Flowers attract us. They have attractive color, nice smell. So flowering plants are very useful to us. In this chapter, we have to understand morphology, structure and the process of reproduction in flowering plants. Flower. It is said to be a fascinating organ of angiosperms. You know that human beings have close relationship with flower since time immemorial. Flowers are very important part of our life. These are objects of aesthetic, social, religious and cultural value. Any program of our life is incomplete without flower, whether it is the occasion of happiness or sorrow. It is incomplete without flowers. Flowers have been used as a symbols for conveying important human feelings such as love, affection, happiness, grief, etc. Here you can see the picture of beautiful flowers. Doesn't it attract you? In previous classes, you have studied about the lateral section of the flower, the main parts of the flower. The greenish part is called as sepal, then attractive petals are there, then androecium, gynoecium, stigma, style, this one is ovary. So you are familiar with the diagram of lateral section of flower. Now we have to study the pre-fertilization in flower. Pre-fertilization structure and events. Much before the actual flower is seen on a plant, the decision that the plant is going to flower is taken. For that, several hormonal and structural changes are initiated, which lead to differentiation and further development of floral primordium. Now what is meant by floral primordium? It is a group of cells or tissue in an angiosperm which gives rise to a flower. See what is meant by primordium? It is a group of cells or a tissue in an angiosperm which gives rise to a flower. Inflorescences are formed which bear the floral buds and then the flowers. In the flower, androecium and gynoecium differentiate and develop. Androecium is a male reproductive part of flower, while gynoecium is a female reproductive part. So first we have to study about the male reproductive part, stamen. Here we have to study about the typical stamen, microsporangium and pollen grains. So here you can see the image of a typical stamen. The long and slender stalk is called as the filament. See here. This is the long and very slender or thin stalk of the stamen is called as the filament, and it terminates towards the bilobed structure. Bilobed means it has two parts. Here you can see the image of the bilobed structure of the terminal part of the stamen, which is called as the anther. See, a typical stamen has two main parts. The long and slender part is called as the filament, and the terminal generally bilobed structure is called as the anther. The proximal end of filament is attached to thalamus or petal of a flower. The number and length of filaments are variable in different species of flower. Here you can see the number and length of filaments are variable in different species of flower. For example, hibiscus. Hibiscus has only one filament, or there is a single filament. Here are around 4 to 5 filaments. Here are many filaments. So the number of filaments varies according to the type of flowers. Even length also varies. In case of the hibiscus flower, the filament is very long, while in case of some flowers, the filament is very short. Here you can see very short filaments. Even in this flower also, filaments are very short. The next part is a anther. The typical angiosperm anther is bilobed, means it has two parts with each lobe having two theca. So it is also called as dithecous. The anther is four-sided or tetragonal structure. Here you can see the four-sided or tetragonal structure of the anther. It consists of the four microsporangia. These are the sac-like structures. So these microsporangia, they further develop and become the pollen sacs. Here you can see these are the lines of dehiscence, means it breaks here and pollen grains come outside. Now we have to study the structure of microsporangium. In a transverse section, a typical microsporangium appears circular in outline. It is surrounded by four wall layers. The epidermis, here you can see the structure of the microsporangium. The typical microsporangium appears circular in outline. It is generally surrounded by four wall layers: the epidermis, endothecium, middle layer and the tapetum. See, here you can see the tapetum. It is the innermost layer and these are the outer three layers. These three layers are endothecium, this one is endothecium, then this one is middle layer and this one is the outer layer, which is called as the epidermis. See, this one is the outer layer, which is known as the epidermis. Here you can see the enlarged view of one microsporangium showing different wall layers. See, outermost layer is the epidermis, then endothecium, these are the middle layer and the innermost layer is known as the tapetum. Here you can see the picture of a dehisced anther. When it matures, it breaks open and pollen grains can be released outside. So this phenomena is called as dehiscence. Now what is meant by microsporogenesis? As the anther develops, the cells of sporogenous tissue undergo meiotic division to form microspore tetrads. Each cell of sporogenous tissue is capable of giving rise to a microspore tetrad. Each one is called as a potential pollen or microscopic mother cell. In short, we call it PMC. So, the process of formation of microspores from a pollen mother cell through meiosis is called as microsporogenesis. What is meant by microsporogenesis? It is the process of formation of microspores from a pollen mother cell through meiosis is called as microsporogenesis. As the anther matures and dehydrates, the microspores dissociate from each other and then they develop into the pollen grains. Here you can see the picture of the pollen grains. The pollen grains represent the male gametophyte. See, in this image, the pollen grains of hibiscus flower are shown. This is the enlarged image of the pollen grains of the hibiscus flower. Here you can see the scanning electron micrographs of pollen grain. The scanning electron micrographs show that there is variety in the structure and size of the pollen grains. See, these are the pollen grains of hibiscus flower. These are the pollen grains of rose flower. Then this picture shows the image of the pollen grain of pine. Here is the 3D model of pollen grain. These pollen grains are generally spherical, measuring 25 to 50 micrometers in diameter. Each pollen grain has a prominent two-layered wall. The hard outer layer is called as exine, which is made up of sporopollenin, which is one of the most resistant organic material known. It is very tough, so that it can withstand high temperature and strong acids and alkalis. There is not a single enzyme known which can degrade the outer hard layer of the pollen grain, that is exine. Pollen grain has prominent apertures or openings called as germ pores where sporopollenin is absent. The inner wall of the pollen grain is called as intine. See, the outer layer is called as exine, while the inner wall of the pollen grain is called as intine. This intine is thin and continuous layer made up of cellulose and pectin. The cytoplasm of pollen grain is surrounded by the plasma membrane. When the pollen grain is mature, it contains two cells, vegetative cells and the generative cells. Here you can see the nucleus of the vegetative cell, and it is the new cell being formed which is called as the generative cell with generative nucleus. The vegetative cell is bigger with abundant food reserve, and it has a large irregular shaped nucleus. Here is the generative cell. It is comparatively smaller in size and it floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. So, here you can see the structure of the pollen grain. The outermost hard layer, it is exine, which is made up of sporopollenin. Then innermost continuous layer is called as intine. Now, this one is germ pore. And you can see here the generative cell and its nucleus and the vegetative nucleus. These pollen grains may cause severe allergies, which is known as the pollen allergy. In people with pollen allergies, the immune system mistakenly identifies the harmless pollen as a dangerous intruder or outsider. So, it produces chemicals to fight against pollen. This is known as the allergic reaction or pollen allergy. What is meant by pollen allergy? The immune system of people mistakenly identifies the harmless pollen as a dangerous intruder. So, it produces the chemicals to fight against pollen. This is known as the allergic reaction or the pollen allergy. The main symptoms of pollen allergy may be continuous sneezing, stuffy nose, watery eyes, etc. There are certain weeds such as Parthenium, which is also known as carrot grass. It is the primary trigger of pollen allergies during the summer months. It causes some of the most severe and difficult to treat symptoms. But allergy shots or allergy vaccines and tablets are available which are highly effective in relieving symptoms of grass pollen allergy. Now, tell me how pollen grains are useful to us. The pollen grains are rich in nutrients. Pollen tablets are used as the food supplements. In Western countries, pollen products are used in the form of tablets and syrups as a food supplements. The pollen consumption has been claimed to increase the performance of athletes and race horses. Here you can see the product showing bee pollen. Here the bee pollen claims that if the horses are not grazing, if the bee pollen is given them on the time, they will work more efficiently. Now what is meant by pollen viability? Pollen viability refers to the ability of the pollen to perform its functions of delivering male gametes to the embryo sac. The period for which pollen grains remain viable is variable and it depends on the temperature and humidity. In case of cereals such as rice and wheat, the pollen grains lose viability within the 30 minutes of their release, while in some leguminous plants as well as in the family Solanaceae, they maintain viability for the months. It is possible to store pollen grains of large number of species for many years in liquid nitrogen at temperature minus 196 degrees centigrade. Such stored pollens can be used as the pollen banks in the crop breeding programs. In next video, we will discuss about the pistil, megasporangium and the embryo sac. Thank you.